Okay, so you weren't kidding when you said we were going to go deep on NLP.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
It's a whole stack of stuff, like a brain training manual.
You could say that NLP can be a really powerful set of tools.
For understanding how your mind works.
Exactly, for making changes.
So for this deep dive, let's really explore what NLP is all about.
Yeah,
More than just definitions.
right.
Let's unpack some exercises and examples
Yeah, I think that's the best way to really get it.
to give you a real feel for how it works.
Yeah.
Like almost a sampler platter
That's right.
to see what clicks.
Yeah.
And if it clicks, then you can go out and explore more.
I think what's really fascinating about NLP is this idea that people aren't broken.
Oh.
That we're already working perfectly, even if the results
Yeah,
aren't exactly matching up with what we want.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's not about fixing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding why we do the things we do.
Yeah, yeah.
So before we even go further, let's just define the acronym. What does neuro-linguistic programming mean?
Well, neuro refers to your nervous system,
Okay.
how you take in information through your senses.
Yeah.
Linguistic, that points to the power of language.
Okay.
And that's both the words we use and our nonverbal communication.
Right.
And then programming, think of it like this. Your brain is a supercomputer,
Okay.
and NLP is the software upgrade.
Ah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of wishing we had different hardware,
Right.
we can actually rewrite the code.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key concepts or principles that kind of make up this upgrade?
So one of the most fundamental ideas in NLP is this idea that people work perfectly.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't mean that we're all flawless beings.
Right.
It means that our brains are wired to be effective.
All right.
But sometimes the programs that we're running are outdated
Oh.
or not serving us well anymore.
So is there an example that you could think of like a behavior
Here.
that on the surface seems negative, but
Yeah.
is actually working perfectly for someone?
Absolutely. So imagine someone who procrastinates constantly.
Okay.
On the surface, it looks like a really bad habit.
Right.
It looks like self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
But for that person, procrastination might be a way of avoiding the anxiety of potential failure
Yeah.
or a subconscious strategy to seek attention from other people.
Right.
Their brain is working perfectly to achieve those outcomes, even if those aren't the outcomes that they consciously want.
I see. So it's almost like their behavior is a solution,
Yeah,
even if it's creating other problems.
that's right.
Okay. So that makes sense.
And that's where NLP comes in.
Okay.
It helps us identify those patterns and reprogram our responses
Yeah.
to achieve the results that we truly desire.
Okay. I see. So if we're not broken, how do we go about making changes?
So NLP emphasizes this idea of modeling excellence.
Okay.
And that's the idea that we can learn from those people
Right.
who are already achieving what we want.
So instead of me wishing I had someone else's talent,
Exactly.
I can study how they think and behave.
Yeah.
And try to find the recipe.
That's right.
Okay.
It's all about recognizing that we all have that potential for greatness
Mhm.
within us.
Yeah.
And NLP provides the tools to unlock that potential by learning from the best.
So I'm just thinking, as we continue to explore NLP, one of the things that always comes up is motivation.
Yeah.
So how does NLP view motivation?
So NLP breaks down motivation into two directions: moving towards what we want and moving away from what we don't want.
Okay.
So imagine someone who needs the pressure of a deadline to get work done.
Right.
They're motivated by moving away from the negative consequences of not finishing.
But is it always so black and white?
Not at all.
Like, can we be motivated by both at the same time?
Absolutely, you're right. It's not always one or the other.
Okay.
We can be pulled towards a desired outcome and pushed away from an undesired outcome at the same time.
Okay.
Think about an athlete training for the Olympics.
Right.
They are driven by the thrill of victory
Yeah.
and the fear of losing.
Right. So it's a more nuanced view of motivation
Exactly.
than just carrots and sticks.
It really is.
So you mentioned that sometimes our internal programming isn't serving us well.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to identify those outdated patterns?
That's where this NLP concept of the map is not the territory comes in.
Okay.
Our mental maps, which is our beliefs, values, and perceptions, are just representations of reality. They're
Right.
not reality itself.
So it's like using an old map
Yeah,
with roads that have changed.
exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
And sometimes those maps need updating.
I can relate to that. I remember when I was feeling stuck in a career rut,
Yeah,
and it was because I was holding on to this old map of what success looked like
right.
that no longer resonated with me.
And what happened?
Well, once I recognized that my map was outdated
Yeah.
and it was time to redraw it.
Yeah.
It felt like this huge weight was lifted.
That's a perfect example of how shifting those mental maps can create profound change.
Wow.
And that's one of the core aha moments that people have with NLP.
Which is the realization that they have the power to rewrite their own narrative.
Okay, now we're
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
I like this. I feel like I'm starting to really get this.
Okay.
Is there anything else about this people work perfectly concept that we should highlight for our listener?
I think it's really important to remember that even when someone's behavior seems illogical or self-defeating,
Yeah.
it makes sense within their internal map.
Right.
So instead of judging or criticizing, NLP encourages us to approach other people with curiosity and compassion.
So it's about understanding why they do what they do,
Yeah,
not just labeling it as good or bad.
exactly.
Okay, I see.
And that understanding is the foundation for creating positive change, both within ourselves
Yeah.
and in our relationships with other people.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about values.
Sure.
How do values play into all of this?
So values act like a compass that guide our choices and actions.
Okay.
They're the deeply held beliefs that determine what's important to us.
Right.
And in NLP, values are seen as a powerful motivator. So we move toward fulfilling our values and away from violating them.
Exactly. Think about a time when you felt really alive and fulfilled.
Okay.
Chances are you were living in alignment with your values.
Yeah.
And conversely, when we act against our values,
Right.
we often feel really conflicted and unhappy.
This makes me think about all those times you hear about, seniors looking back on their lives
Right.
with regret and wishing they had
Yeah.
lived more authentically
Absolutely.
in line with their values rather
Yeah.
than chasing, external things.
Right.
So how does NLP help us identify our values?
NLP provides a variety of techniques for uncovering and prioritizing our values.
Okay.
And it's about getting clear on what truly matters to us
Right.
so we can make choices that lead to a life of purpose and meaning.
So understanding my values is like having a roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing is once you have identified those values,
Yeah.
they become this internal compass
Right.
that helps you navigate any situation. And they become a source of strength and motivation.
Okay. This is starting to all make sense. It's like a framework to understand ourselves better.
It is.
Yeah.
And to make choices that are aligned with who we truly are.
Before we move on, is there anything else that we should highlight for our listener
Yeah.
about values?
Yeah, I think it's just helpful for them to connect this to their own lives and their goals.
Okay.
So imagine that you are facing a difficult decision.
Okay.
Maybe it's a career change or a relationship challenge or a personal goal that you are struggling to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
By identifying your core values, you can ask yourself, which choice best aligns with what's truly important to me?
I see. So it's not about just finding the right answer.
Right.
It's about finding the answer that
Yeah,
resonates with me.
exactly.
Okay. So this is great. I'm ready for an exercise
Okay,
that we can take our listener through
perfect.
to kind of give them a taste of what NLP is like in action.
Absolutely. So let's explore the power of our inner learner
Okay.
with an exercise called You Are a Learner.
Okay. So this is about tapping into that childlike
Yeah,
sense of wonder.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready for this.
So if you're listening, get comfortable, close your eyes if you like, and let's begin.
Okay.
Imagine yourself as a young child,
Okay.
full of wonder and curiosity.
Like we're stepping into a time machine.
That's right.
Oh.
And let's go back to a time when you were learning something new,
Okay.
maybe a new skill or a new game or even just a new word.
I'm picturing myself learning to ride a bike.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hold on to that feeling. Remember the excitement, the determination, the sense of accomplishment.
Like reliving those moments.
That's right, of learning.
And notice how effortlessly you were absorbing information, making connections, adapting to new challenges.
It's amazing how much we learn in those early years.
Your young brain was a learning machine.
It's true, yeah, and all without even trying.
And that capacity for learning is still within you.
Wow.
It's part of your inherent nature. So it's not about becoming a learner. It's about remembering that we are learners.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's next in this exercise?
So now let's zoom in on some of those early learning experiences.
Okay.
Notice how you were absorbing language, picking up new words and grammar rules
Yeah.
without even realizing it.
It's amazing how quickly our brains can adapt to language.
And those neural pathways are still there.
Wow.
They're just waiting to be activated and utilized for new learning adventures.
So even as adults, we still have that same capacity.
Absolutely.
It's really just a matter of recognizing it and using it.
That's right.
Wow, this is really making me think about learning in a whole new light.
Good.
Okay, so what's the final step in this exercise?
So as you hold those images of your young learning self,
Yeah.
just feel that sense of wonder and possibility,
Okay.
that childlike curiosity, that eagerness to explore and discover.
Yeah.
And as you open your eyes, carry that feeling with you.
Oh.
And remember, you are a learner. You have everything you need to keep growing, evolving, and achieving amazing things.
I feel like we've really reignited that spark of curiosity we all have
Yeah.
and reminded ourselves that learning isn't just possible, it's our natural state.
And that's a great segue into our next topic, mission.
Okay.
Because when we tap into our inner learner,
Yeah.
we open ourselves up to discovering our unique purpose and pursuing it with passion.
All right. I'm ready to talk about that.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So we've tapped into that inner learner,
Yeah.
that feeling of unlimited potential.
Right.
Now let's talk about aligning that potential with a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
What NLP refers to as finding your mission.
You know, when I hear the word mission,
Yeah.
I think about, grand, almost superhuman feats,
Yeah.
like saving the world or revolutionizing an industry.
Yeah.
Does it have to be that epic?
No, not at all. It's really more about finding that thing that lights you up,
Okay.
that gives you a sense of direction
Right.
and meaning. It's about moving beyond just surviving and into truly thriving.
I used to think that mission was something you had to go and search for,
Yeah.
like on some far off mountaintop or something.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from NLP is that it's more about uncovering something that's already within us.
Exactly. It's about connecting with your values, passions, and unique talents
Okay.
to create a life that feels truly authentic and fulfilling.
So how do we distinguish between having a job and having a mission?
That's a great question.
They both involve doing things.
That's right. And the source material uses this brilliant analogy
Right.
to illustrate the difference.
Okay.
So imagine two bricklayers
Okay.
working side by side.
Okay.
If you ask them what they're doing,
Yeah.
one might say, I'm laying bricks, building a wall.
Right. That's a job.
That's a job.
Right.
But the other bricklayer might say, I'm building a magnificent cathedral
Wow. Yeah.
that will inspire people for generations to come.
So it's the same action. Yeah. But with a totally different meaning behind it.
Exactly. One is driven by necessity.
Yeah.
The other is driven by purpose.
I see.
And that sense of purpose is what infuses our actions
Yeah.
with passion and meaning.
The source material had some really great examples of people who I think really embody that idea of mission.
Yeah,
Like Susan Butcher, the world-class dog sled racer.
oh, yeah.
Ted Turner, the media mogul.
Mm.
Steven Spielberg, the visionary filmmaker.
Yeah.
They all achieved really extraordinary things.
They did.
But it's clear that they were driven by something much deeper
Absolutely.
than just ambition.
Yeah.
So how do we uncover our own mission?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Where do we begin?
So the source material suggests this process of self-discovery
Okay.
that involves exploring your values,
Mm-hmm.
your passions, the things that bring you joy,
Right.
asking yourself those big questions. What am I good at?
Uh-huh.
What do I love to do? What kind of impact do I want to make on the world?
So are there any NLP techniques that can help us with that?
Absolutely. One powerful technique is called finding your life's passion.
Okay.
It involves identifying those activities
Yeah.
that light you up, that you would even pay to do.
I like that.
Yeah.
What if someone's having trouble identifying their passions?
So the source material suggests looking to your heroes and your role models.
Okay.
So who do you admire?
Yeah.
What is it about their lives
Right.
or accomplishments that inspires you?
I see.
Often our heroes embody values and passions
Right.
that resonate deeply within us.
So they're almost like giving us clues to our own path.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those sparks of inspiration
Yeah.
and using them to fuel your own journey.
I feel like we're piecing together this puzzle,
Yeah.
using our passions, our heroes, our values to get a clearer picture.
You're exactly right. It is a process of exploration
Yeah.
and discovery.
Okay, so once we have a general sense of our mission, what do we do next?
So the source material emphasizes moving from the general to the specific.
Okay.
It's not enough to just know you're passionate about, let's say, helping others.
Right.
You need to find a direction,
Right, you need to take action.
a path to channel that passion.
It's like having a powerful engine but no steering wheel.
Exactly.
Is there a technique that can help us with this?
Absolutely. It's called visualizing your mission.
Okay, I like that.
It's about using your imagination
Okay.
to create vivid images and sounds
Okay.
that represent your mission in action.
Okay, I can do that.
close your eyes and imagine a series of scenes unfolding,
Okay.
like a movie trailer for your life's purpose.
Okay, I'm seeing myself leading workshops, writing a book, speaking on stage,
Awesome.
like I'm directing my own personal blockbuster film.
And to amplify the experience even more, add in some music.
Okay.
Imagine a soundtrack that captures the feeling of your mission.
Okay.
Something inspiring and motivating that makes you feel unstoppable.
I've got my theme music playing, and I'm feeling that surge of energy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now try to formulate a sentence
Okay.
that captures the essence of your mission.
Right.
It might be something like, I empower people to live their best lives.
Right.
Or, I use my creativity to inspire change.
It's like condensing all that energy and vision back to a
Yes.
single statement.
Those words become your anchor, your touchstone.
Yeah.
Whenever you feel lost or uncertain, you can always come back
Right?
to that statement.
And remember,
Yeah, and reconnect with your purpose.
so we've taken this nebulous concept like mission
Yeah,
and made it into something tangible
Yes.
that we can act on.
absolutely. And that's the beauty of NLP.
Okay, so we've uncovered our passion.
Mm-hmm.
We've looked to our heroes for inspiration.
Yes.
We've visualized our mission.
Yeah.
What's next?
So the next step is to align yourself
Okay.
with your mission on a deeper level.
Okay.
It's about addressing any internal resistance or objections.
The inner critic. Exactly.
Yeah.
We all have it.
We all have it.
So how do we quiet that voice?
So the source material emphasizes the importance of listening to those objections
Okay.
with compassion and respect.
So not silencing it.
That's right.
Understanding where it's coming from.
Exactly. It's not about silencing them,
Okay.
but understanding the positive intention behind them.
So even the negative voice is trying to protect us.
Exactly. It might be a fear of failure or a desire for security
Mm-hmm.
or a concern about what other people might think.
Okay.
But instead of letting those fears control us,
Right.
we can acknowledge them
Yeah.
and find ways to address them.
So it's like having a conversation with our different parts
Mm-hmm.
to create a unified purpose.
You got it. And there's an NLP technique that
Yeah.
can help us with this process. It's called aligning with your mission.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
It involves asking yourself a series of questions
Okay.
about how your mission fits into your life. So how does it relate to your current job or your family or
Yeah.
other commitments?
Okay.
As you answer these questions, just pay attention to any feelings of resistance
Mm-hmm.
that come up.
Yeah.
Those are the objections we need to address.
So we're shining a light on the
Yeah.
things that might be holding us back.
Exactly. And once we've identified those objections,
Yeah.
then we can start to negotiate with them.
Negotiate with ourselves.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great way to put it.
Like we're diplomats in our own.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about finding a win-win solution.
Can you give an example of how that might work?
Sure. So let's say your mission is to start your own business,
Okay.
but a part of you is terrified of financial instability.
Right.
Instead of ignoring that fear,
Yeah.
you can acknowledge it and say, okay, what would need to be in place for me to feel financially secure
Right.
while pursuing my dream?
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And by addressing those objections, you clear the path for action.
Right. You're removing the roadblocks.
Exactly.
So we've uncovered our mission,
Mhm.
visualized it,
Yeah.
aligned ourselves with it.
Yes.
What's next?
The next step is to bring in the support of other people.
Okay.
We're not meant to do this alone.
Yeah. That's always been a tough one for me, asking for help.
I understand.
It feels vulnerable.
It does.
Yeah.
But enlisting support isn't just about asking for help.
Mm.
It's about sharing your vision
Okay.
with those you trust
Yeah.
and inviting them to be part of your journey.
So finding our team of cheerleaders,
Exactly.
mentors,
Right.
collaborators.
Yeah. And the source material emphasizes the importance of finding synergies.
Okay.
So looking for ways that your mission can benefit other people,
I see.
how it can align with their goals
Yeah.
and passions as well.
So it's not just me asking for help.
Right.
It's about finding those win-win situations.
Exactly.
Okay.
I like that. And when you approach it from that perspective,
Yeah.
you're much more likely to get that enthusiastic buy-in.
Like we're building a movement, a
Mhm.
community of people who are
Yo,
working towards a shared goal.
that's where the magic happens.
Okay, so we've done the inner work
Yeah.
of aligning ourselves with our mission.
Mm-hmm.
We've enlisted the support of others.
Yes.
I'm ready to set some goals.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
But here's where NLP takes a different approach
Okay.
than traditional goal setting.
Okay.
It's not about setting arbitrary goals
Right.
just for the sake of achieving them.
Okay.
And we'll explore that more in our next section.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
We're about to unlock the secrets
I think so.
to setting goals that actually matter.
Absolutely. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've uncovered our mission.
Yes,
We've visualized it. We've aligned ourselves with it.
that's right.
I'm ready for those actions. I'm ready to set some goals.
That's great.
But how exactly does that work? I know NLP has kind of a different approach to goal setting.
It does. And remember how NLP encourages us to constantly evaluate? If what you're doing isn't working, do something else.
Right.
That applies to goal setting as well.
Okay.
Because traditional goal setting can sometimes lead us down a path
Okay.
that doesn't really align with our mission,
Okay.
even if we achieve those goals.
You're saying even achieving a goal could be a wrong turn
Exactly.
if it's not the right goal.
That's right.
Okay.
The source material calls out a couple of common pitfalls with traditional goal setting.
Okay, like what?
One is the vacation life trap.
What's that?
It's this idea of working tirelessly towards retirement.
Okay.
Picturing yourself relaxing on a beach somewhere,
Yeah.
but never really enjoying the present moment.
It's like you're putting life on hold
Right?
until some far-off future date.
Exactly.
What about those status-based goals?
Yes, those are a big one, right?
The bigger house, the fancy car.
Right. Designer wardrobe, it's easy to fall into that trap.
I've definitely fallen into that one myself.
Yeah, thinking if I just had that thing, then I would finally be happy.
Right. And then you get the thing and you're like, okay, now what?
Exactly. And then there's always something else to chase.
Right.
And the source material made this interesting observation
Okay.
that often the people who end up enjoying those material possessions the most
Yeah.
are the ones who don't actually own them.
Interesting.
So like the housekeeper, the gardener, the personal shopper.
Because they get to experience the luxury,
Yeah.
but without having to,
The burden of ownership.
right, the upkeep and all that. That's interesting.
Right. It makes you think about what we're really striving for.
What about financial goals?
Yeah, that's another pitfall.
I feel like that's a big one.
Right. It's this belief that if you just make enough money, then
Then I'll be happy
you'll be happy, you'll be free.
and free.
But the source material makes it clear that money is a means to an end.
It's not the end in itself.
Exactly. And it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters.
Yeah.
Like our relationships, our health, our passion. Right.
When we're solely focused on accumulating wealth.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all these stories about, these ultra successful entrepreneurs and business people
Yeah.
who achieve all their financial goals, have more money than they can spend,
Right.
and then they're miserable.
And they're totally empty inside.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale.
What about that means versus ends thing?
Yeah, that's another pitfall.
Where you're so focused on...
You get so fixated on achieving the goal
Right.
that you compromise your values.
Right. Or cut corners.
Exactly.
To unethical behavior. Yeah.
Okay. So how do we avoid these pitfalls? How do we set goals that are actually worth achieving
Yes, that's what I want to know.
and that are aligned with our mission and our values?
Okay, tell me.
So one key shift is to move from an outer to inner approach
Okay.
to an inner to outer approach.
What does that mean?
So instead of setting goals based on external achievements or what you think you should be doing,
Okay.
you start with your inner purpose,
My mission.
your mission.
Let your goals emerge from that.
Okay, so they're not coming from outside.
Exactly.
They're coming from within.
That's right. Becomes a natural extension of who you are.
So it's not me trying to fit into someone else's idea of
Exactly.
things.
It's about creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling for you.
This all sounds great, but it sounds almost too simple.
I know, right?
How do we actually put this into practice?
So the source material has this great exercise called utilizing your favorite hero/heroine
Okay.
to help you with this. So think of a hero or heroine you admire,
Sure.
someone whose accomplishments inspire you.
Got one.
All right, good.
Okay.
So now think about a specific goal that they achieved that was a direct expression of their mission.
Okay.
It might be a scientific discovery, a work of art, a social movement, or a personal act of courage.
Okay.
Got it.
Got it.
So now imagine that achievement as a short movie.
Okay.
See the actions, hear the sounds, feel the energy.
Okay.
And here's the key. Step into their shoes. Imagine yourself embodying their qualities, their values, their mission.
I like that.
As you achieve that goal from the inside out,
Okay.
just pay attention to your feelings.
Okay.
What motivates you? What drives you? How does achieving this goal make you feel?
It's like method acting for goal setting.
That's a great way to put it.
I like it.
It helps you connect with the emotional essence of mission-oriented goals,
Okay.
which is really key for staying motivated and on track.
So we're embodying the goal.
You got it. And you can use this exercise anytime you need a boost of inspiration.
Okay, I can see that. So we've tapped into the feeling.
Yes.
Now, how do we take that feeling and turn it into concrete actions?
Okay, so remember, these goals should emerge organically from your mission.
Right, so they should feel.
This should feel exciting and meaningful.
Not like a chore.
Not like a chore or an obligation, yeah.
Okay, and should I limit myself?
No, shoot for the moon.
Okay, so think big.
Think big. Once you have a few key goals, break them down into smaller, actionable steps.
So it's like we're creating a roadmap.
Exactly.
Okay.
With each step bringing you closer to your destination.
Yeah.
And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.
I like that.
Yeah, embrace the challenges, celebrate the wins, and enjoy the process.
Okay, I feel like I have a whole new framework for thinking about
Uh,
goals. One that's actually
That's great.
aligned with what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what about those NLP techniques?
Yes.
Are there specific tools that we can use to achieve these goals?
Absolutely. NLP is chock full of them.
Okay.
And we've already touched on a few, like visualizing your goals,
Right.
changing submodalities to boost motivation.
Like making the picture bigger and brighter.
Exactly.
Okay.
But there's so many others. There's reframing, which helps you shift your perspective on challenges
Okay.
and see them as opportunities.
Instead of saying, I'm terrible at public speaking,
Exactly.
I could say, I'm excited to develop.
That's a much better frame.
Okay.
Yeah, you completely transform the energy around that goal.
And then there's anchoring.
Yes. Anchoring positive states, like the circle of excellence exercise.
Right. Finding that trigger to access those feelings.
Exactly, whenever you need it.
Okay. I like that one.
And then there's visual squash, which helps integrate conflicting parts of yourself.
Like the part of me that wants to go after this big dream.
Yeah.
And then the part of me that's afraid to fail.
Exactly.
So how do we squash those?
It's about creating a dialogue between those parts, finding common ground, and merging them into a unified sense of purpose.
So it's about getting all of me on board.
Exactly. All parts of yourself on board with your mission.
That's like NLP is giving me a whole new operating system.
That's a great way to put it.
I like that. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the most important thing you want our listener to remember?
I want them to remember that they already have everything they need within them to achieve amazing things.
Wow. Yeah.
NLP is just the manual for tapping into those resources.
It's about recognizing that we are all capable of creating the life that we desire.
Exactly. And it's not about becoming someone else.
Right.
But becoming the best version of yourself.
Aligning your actions with your values, your passions, and your unique mission.
Exactly. And to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What if the most important thing wasn't just achieving goals,
Okay.
but aligning them with something bigger?
I like that.
What would your life's mission be?
That's a great question to ponder. And hopefully this deep dive has planted the seeds for some really amazing personal transformation.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for joining us on this NLP adventure.
It's been my pleasure.
You're amazing. You're capable of achieving amazing things. Take care.